Hello and welcome to the Fire in the Belly show. Today we have myself, Mighty Pete, and we have the Brimstone. Good morning to you, sir.
First and foremost, I got to tell you, Pete, finally, Brimstone has made it to Fire in the Belly. Super stoked, super excited. I see your smiling face from all the way over in Ireland. So, brother, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to have it with you. Let's do it up, bro. I'm ready.
Loving it, loving it. That's bringing the
Ready.
energy. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. From one side of the Atlantic to the other. So it's cool, right?
There we go. There we go.
So,
All
Brim,
right. So
tell
let's
us, who are
jump
you?
right
What do you
into it.
do? And where are you from?
So, what do you call it? For those of you who are not familiar with me, I go under the stage name Brimstone. I've been in entertainment for 40 plus years. I started back here in the, I'm from the States. What do you call it? For those of you listening over the pond. Pretty much, I've been in entertainment for, like I said, for over 40 years. I started on shows like Sesame Street and Romper Room, which here in the States are pretty big deals. I don't know if it's as big of a deal over by you guys, or if it's even a thing by you guys, but I was a child actor here. Then, moving forward, I toured the world in music, in professional wrestling. I'm an actor, an author, comic book character, animated character, kids book character, you name it. I've done it. I do voiceover work, animated stuff, and I'm also the host of the Grindhouse Radio on iHeart, and we're on over 30 different networks syndicated worldwide. And yeah, man, and I'm here hanging out with you. So it's a mouthful.
That's an impressive CV, and I'm just thinking you're appearing in multiple CV, multiple dimensions. You appear as an animated character, you appear as a voice, you appear as yourself, you appear as the child version of you, obviously when you were younger. So you've been appeared in pretty much every type of form you could appear in, it seems.
Yeah, except adults. I don't want to do that, but I'm not going to steer clear of that one. My wife wouldn't be too happy if I went into that route.
You don't want to
But
embarrass people,
yeah.
do you? Really?
But at the end of the day, I've been around for a long time, so I've done my time everywhere. I've had I've done television, I've done commercial, I've done print, I've done music, I've done wrestling, I've done this, I've done that. Yeah, and when you're talking about animated and so forth, I not only voice myself, but I do a ton of other different characters. You know what I mean? And animation and video games and so forth. So it's a really cool opportunity, and that really beefed up a lot during COVID. What do you call it? Since being in entertainment and being on Brimstone 24/7. So I am my own business. I am my own brand. On top of the businesses that I own and the things that I own within them. And you know, during COVID, you can't travel. We couldn't do the conventions that we normally go and sign at and meet with fans, and we always do very well at the conventions. Um, you know, things slowed down, everywhere. Where we have normally, have a ton of big sponsors. Some of the sponsors on the smaller side wound up going out of business. You know what I mean? And it was a different landscape. So you have to kind of, figure out how you can kind of merge and kind of, go with the ebb and flow of what's happening in the world. So one of the big things that I did was I started doing more and concentrating more on my voice work. So, I started doing a lot more with animation, even though I was doing stuff before with that and with video games. I really dove into it and picked up a whole bunch of different roles. And thankfully that helped me continue to go through mostly the entire pandemic. And I'm still coming out of, well, we're still in pandemic, but at this point I'm still running strong. I've got about 3 different projects I'm working on at once in terms of the VO stuff, and I have another couple that are in the hopper that I'm working on next. So that's been working out pretty well for me, thankfully. And it's a lot of fun. It's something that's different, but I like to talk, obviously. And I like to have fun with these different characters and get into their heads and get into the roles. And it's really, really cool to keep you on your toes. And it's one of those things where you've got to be able to kind of get into a character real quick and be on point. And I just enjoy it. I really do.
And tell me, I mean, it's a lot of audio work. Is that your preference? All about the audio as opposed to sort of video on screen stuff? Is that a
No,
fair thing to say?
no. I like everything equally, to be completely honest. I don't like or dislike anything more or less. I just enjoy doing what I do. Like I said, I get to be Brimstone 24/7. And for me, as long as I'm working and I'm leaving, more, to my legacy and making the world a little bit better than it was when I came into it, you know what I mean? Then that's what it's all about, So for me, there's nothing that I prefer more or less. Do I love doing voice stuff? Absolutely. Do I love doing on-screen stuff? Absolutely. If you can't tell, I'm a very energetic person. So I have to have somewhere to put that energy. So anywhere we kind of wind up is a good place for me.
Oh, cool. And so tell me, what does fire in the belly mean to you, Brim? What's it all about?
So, a fire in the belly basically to me is something where, you have that will and that desire to succeed, to pursue your dreams, to pursue your goals, and actually move forward and become something bigger than, to be better than, to leave a legacy. And that for me is what being having a fire in your belly means. Very, very important. I think that, as an entertainer, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who, lives and breathes, my brand. I believe that, if I didn't have that fire in my belly, I would never succeed. So, it's a grind, as anybody else who's in entertainment or as an entrepreneur knows, it is a very, tough industry on both ends. Now, again, I say, I kind of usually put it, entertainers and entrepreneurs in the same basket. And the reason for that is entertainers are entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs should be entertaining. And at the end of the day, we're all in the same basket. We all work for ourselves. We all have we all have to build a brand. We're all working a lot harder than people that work for 9 to 5s think we are. So, and there's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. Um, but at the end of the day, understand that we work just as hard, if not harder, to get where we are. It's not all fun and games. We bust our humps to make our bread and to put the food on the table.
Out of interest, I mean, it's it's a beautiful career and lots of varied and wonderful opportunities, I suppose. But what for you is the underlying thing that sort of let you be where you are today? I mean, is it an ethic? Is it a way of life? Is it a top secret approach? What is it, do you think?
What drives me to do it, or what allows me to do it is my wife. I'm lucky, because otherwise I'd be castrated if she didn't want me to do something. So but I do it for my family. I do it to leave a legacy.
Hmm.
Again, I am, for me, I want to be able to just live life to the fullest, do everything I possibly can in order to, try anything that I want to try, do whatever I want to do. And I've, knock on wood, been successful with a very great portion of it. I've done pretty much almost everything I've wanted to do. There might be a few things here and there that I would really like to do or try. But I'm a firm believer of, if you want something to be, make it be. If you want something to happen, make it happen. And anybody could do anything. It's just a matter of how hard you work. That's it. So there is no secret to it. The secret is, basically wake up every morning, get ready to get to work, bust your hump, go to bed, wake up, rinse and repeat. You know what I mean? And don't be afraid of failure. Failure is a huge, huge, huge part of success. You cannot have success without failure. I failed plenty of times in my career, and not necessarily by my own, what do you call it? Not to my own fault, but because of other people. And when things like that happen, what happens is you either learn from it and you utilize those seeds of knowledge to plant and move forward 10 steps, or you fail completely and you wallow in your failure. Now, you never want to wallow in your failure, because if you do that, then you've lost. So what you do is you take a couple of steps back, you evaluate, you figure out what went wrong, how it went wrong, why it went wrong, and figure what you have to do in order to take those little bits and pieces of knowledge and move forward 10 steps and succeed. You know what I mean? And people Anybody can do it. It's just a matter of working 200%. Because if you're not doing it, someone else is. You know what I mean? And if you're not your own biggest fan, nobody else will be. And if you don't go out there and do the work, nobody's going to do the work for you. So, in order to succeed, you really have to put, your best foot forward and believe in yourself and not let anybody put you down, you know?
That's cool. Just curious. I mean, are you pain based or pleasure based by nature? I mean, do you love a challenge? Do you thrive when the chips are stacked up against you? Is that your moment of coming out, or would you rather be calm and collected and working in a clean environment?
Listen, Pete, I'd love to be wooed. I'd love to be wooed. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, but I do love a challenge. At the end of the day, I'm the guy that, when I'm on and I'm 100%, I'm in the office or in the studio or whatever it is, I'm the guy that will pick up and have two phones going. You know what I mean? Making, talking to contacts and making deals and making things happen. Right now, summer, coming out of kind of the pandemic, you know what I mean, figuring out what's going on moving forward. So I've kind of been getting my brain together, especially with all the projects going on. So, I'm not as beating the crap out of it like I normally would. Kind of taking it a little easy right this minute. But that being said, I love challenges. I love when challenges are put in front of me. I love being able to figure them out. But let's not sleep on the being wooed part. I like easy things too. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's nice to be able to get a layup without having to fight for it. So that's pretty much what it comes down to.
I mean, looking back, what do you think has been the most part? Is it the hard work? Is it sucking up the opportunities when they come? Is it law of attraction? What do you find has been the main theme that has helped you step forward then?
I think the biggest theme of helping me move forward, one is work ethic, and two is the fact that I am unapologetically authentic, and I'm not going to BS anybody. I tell you how it is, when it is, and how it is, and and if there's an opportunity that comes my way, I jump for it. If I feel that it's right for me, or right for my team, or right for something that I'm working the space that I'm working in. There are plenty of things that have come my way that I'm like, maybe that's not for me. Um, and some of those would have been layups. It's just it wouldn't work well for my brand. I wouldn't be able to integrate it in properly. And and that does that happen often? No, but it does happen. For to be completely blunt, I mean, I only get behind brands that I can get behind, because again, you could pay me 100 grand, to sit and talk about your product. If I think your product's garbage, I don't want you 100 grand because I can't talk about it. Because now what happens is now my fan base, or anybody who's following me, pays attention to what I say, then they go out and they try this brand, and it sucks, and it's not what I said it is. Now I look, unauthentic, and I would never want that to be. So, I only get behind, brands that I can get behind. And I really, for me, like my word is my bond. I can't do anything other than that. And I think that's what helps me move forward.
And would you say, I mean, core values, soul values? I mean, that sort of
Yeah.
authenticity, is that right in there for you? Is that baked in?
Yes, absolutely. My mother taught me when I was young, be yourself, be real. And obviously, in the world of entertainment, the world, which can be a very fake world. I'm one of the real people, and people that have been in the industry for a long time. A lot of friends of mine, they recognize that, they realize when I say, hey, if you need me, I'm there for you, they know I'm going to be there for them. It's not Hollywood talk, It's and I've done it, and I've been there for a lot of people who've really needed me over the years. And one of them who's currently in the news again. So at the end of the day, yeah, I think that's baked in, and I think that my mom taught me well. And that could be to a fault too, because sometimes you want to give and you want to be good and you want to help, and sometimes that can hurt you, especially depending on who you're dealing with on the other end. And that has happened to me on a couple of occasions too, which unfortunately caused major issues for me in my career. And again, what do I do? I Like I said earlier, I pick up, I learn from those mistakes, and I move on. And bigger and better. That's all I care about. Just be better. I say to my partners all the time. I say to anybody I work with. I tell my kids, be better. That's it. You know what I mean? Everybody else wants to give 100%. Be better. Give 150%. Give 200%. Give 110% if you can't give 200%. You know what I'm saying? Give, but do more, because that's just as far as you're going to get is how much you give. So if you expect it all to come to you, never going to happen. So,
Do you have a rough idea where you're going? I mean, have you goals, dreams in mind? You've got certain key events or targets for yourself, and then everything thereafter is just it's a step toward that, or are you more happy to work hard and let the opportunities flow where they go?
listen, everybody has that, specific goals. I would love to, pick up a role on something that really, really blows up on television. I'd love to be, either a character on a television series or in a film, or what do you call it, on a, doing an animated role or a voiceover role that really pops and becomes big. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm worldwide. Yes, I have a good fan base. Yes, people know me all over the world. But at the end of the day, you want that household recognition. And eventually maybe I'll get that. And if I don't, I am still happy at where I am. So I think I've worked hard enough, and I'm never, let's take that a step back. I'm never, like, um I'm not I'm not disappointed with where I am. I'm not happy to be where I am, but I'm okay. Does that make sense? I always want more, but I'm okay. Does that make sense? Just trying to,
That's
you
like the
know,
entrepreneurial side, right? Because I mean, you could
yeah,
have everything and still want more, but that's the
yeah,
entrepreneur, and then you mix that with the entertainer, and it's like,
yeah.
well, you know, what is more important for you? Is it the exposure, the opportunity, or is it the sort of success, as some would know it, as the financial side, the status side? Which do you think is which the biggest buzz for you?
The legacy, leaving the legacy, leaving the name and the projects and everything that I leave behind. That my family will have me long after I'm gone. Obviously, the money doesn't hurt, and it's just about being happy. The whole thing is not having to work for somebody else, working for myself. Working with my partners to build something bigger than us. That's what it's all about. And being able to leave my family, like I said, with something of a legacy, and people can look back and say, man, that guy Brim, he busted his hump. He cared for his family. He cared about his fans. He cared about the business. He cared about other people. He was a good person, and look at all the stuff that he did. And that means a lot to me. So it's a little bit of everything. And I mean, look, the fame doesn't hurt. It's nice to be able to go and rub elbows with the people I rub elbows with, and the friends that I call friends. But I'm just as happy being friends with, the my pal down the street who, has three kids, and works a 9 to 5, and drinks a beer when he gets off work and likes to kick back. I'm perfectly fine with that too, just as much as I am going to the big fancy Hollywood parties, and you know, doing red carpets. I mean, it's all relative. I enjoy it all. And what's funny is that sometimes it is difficult, you know, with people who are not in entertainment, because sometimes people don't understand that that's just my world. So I'm not talking, when we're having conversations, I'm not talking about the entertainment industry because I'm trying to show off, or because I'm trying to name drop, or because I'm trying to do this or that. That's not what I'm talking about. That's what I know, and that's where I am, and that's who I'm with. You know what I mean? So like sometimes it's difficult for friends of mine who I've known for years, or newer friends where they don't know me from entertainment. They know me from, the school, from my kids, or, friends of friends, or, you know what I mean? Like people like that. And, so sometimes it's difficult simply because they don't understand my world. They don't live in my world. Somebody who is in my world and has done television or this or that or film or radio or podcasting, anybody who's been in entertainment for a while, and does the things that I do will understand where I'm coming from, because it's hard. It's hard. They don't understand that you can't call them every single day. It's not because I don't care, not because I don't love you. It's because I'm working and I'm grinding. And if I'm not doing that, I'm not making money. So, you know what I mean? And I need to make sure that I'm staying on the top of the totem pole. So but they don't understand because they only work from 9 to 5. I work from 7, if not earlier, till 2, 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? That's my schedule. So, because I deal with people all over the world, and here, case in point, I'm talking to you. Where are you? You know what I mean? So, like at the end of the day, people they just don't understand. um you can't be in someone else's shoes, or if you haven't walked in them, and it's a sad thing sometimes, because it has ruined friendships before, or at least dulled them down. People that I would love to still be in contact with, but they just couldn't understand that, I can't, I don't have that extra 5 minutes to make that phone call. But if you call me, I'd be glad to sit and talk to you. But if you don't, but it also goes two ways. If you don't call me, don't be mad if I didn't call you, right? So, but it is what it is.
No,
That's
it
that's life.
makes a lot of sense, really, I suppose. Has it always been this way for you, Brim? I mean, is it something? Are you who is this person, this character always been, or is this something you transformed into?
I was always the kid who wanted to be out front, right in the front and center. Even when I was in music, I was the drummer. I was in the back, but I was always in the front. I was one of the best known people in all the bands I was in, because I was out there doing it. Somebody wanted an interview. Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's have a good time. I don't care if you have one listener, one reader, or a million listeners or readers. I don't care. Let's do it. Let's get it on. And that's the same now as it is back then. I don't care. As long as I connect with somebody like you, Pete, and you're across the pond, and we get to sit and have a conversation, and you say, what, that Brim was a real cool guy. We're gonna stay in touch, and I'll follow on social, and we'll interact, and we'll do this, and maybe we'll hang out at some point later in life. At the end of the day, I've done my job. You know what I mean? Whether you have a million people listening, or one person listening, and doesn't, I've done my job. So for me, back when, I mean, when I was in music, I was the guy that would be out there making all the deals, getting everything done, and making sure that the band moved forward. Some people appreciate that, other people are intimidated by that. So being in a five-way marriage is not an easy thing, like, so for music, I mean, that's the only reason why I stopped playing when I did, is because I just got sick of being in a five-way marriage, and I wanted to work on something that I was able to work on and just be me, and let it flow. And what do you call, that's when I went into pro wrestling, and when I was in wrestling, I should have stayed. I could have stayed a singles competitor, but I wound up doing doing a stupid, and I got into a whole crew, and I was with the clique, and I was tag partners, and for me, I enjoyed the hell out of it. But I also made sure that I pushed my regular, just me, my persona as well. And I've been Brimstone for a very, very, very long time. So, that's who I am. I made sure that I was, able to continue with my brand outside of the wrestling industry. It was the next natural step, the next natural progression, to go from wrestling into comic books, because what are pro wrestlers? Pro wrestlers are real life superheroes in the ring, larger than life characters. So I took the character and I moved him from the ring, took all the ring stuff out, and put him in the comic book with all the gimmick stuff and no wrestling stuff. And it worked out very, very well, and I continued to move from there. So for me, it's always the next natural progression. I hope I'm making sense. I know I bounced around a little bit.
No, it's cool. I'm curious. I mean, is that how successful generally are people at that transition? It sounds like you've done very well. You've gone from the wrestling scene, comic scene, etc., and you've bounced through and multiple careers, if you like, or multiple opportunities. But does everyone get that? Does everyone actually manage to transition, or is it more more jumpy than that, more lumpy?
To be honest, I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I can tell you that it's very rare. Most people don't transition into all different areas of entertainment, as fluidly as I have. Um, but I also do it the way I do it because I have a sales and marketing background, and I understand the inner workings of the business side. I understand branding, and I also own my own brand, where a lot of the guys that are in the wrestling industry don't necessarily own their own names, they don't own their own gimmicks. And that could be a big problem for a lot of them.
Hmm.
So, and again, not everybody's going from that into comics. A lot of wrestlers will go from the ring and try to get into acting. Um, Problem is a lot of guys can't act. It is what it is. The ones that do, they're gonna make a good run at it. You know what I mean? They're gonna make a good run. Like who wouldn't have thought that The Rock was gonna be a huge name? You know what I mean? Hulk Hogan's another, Hulk Hogan is Hulk Hogan. The Rock is just, beyond. John Cena is decent, Batista has blown people's minds. But these are the guys that have gone into superstardom and they utilize the WWE machine to kind of get a big catapult into the film industry. But they brought it when they got there. You know what I mean? They brought it when they got. If they didn't bring it, they wouldn't have made it. Doesn't matter how big they are in the wrestling world. The wrestling world is small. The thing that Vince McMahon has always done that uh, to what do you call it? The unfortunate dismay of wrestling fans is him. They don't care about the wrestling fans. They care about the general public. They want everybody walking down the street to know who their big superstars are. You know what I mean? And so even though the wrestling fans are the ones who are like, oh my God, it's this one, it's that one, the next one, they want everybody to know who their players are. They don't necessarily need them to be watching the product, but you sure as hell know if they know who The Rock is, they're gonna go buy Rock merchandise. They're gonna buy a shirt or whatever because they like it. They don't have to watch wrestling. They're building their characters up for more. So the fact that these certain characters have taken it, grabbed it by the cojones, and made their way with it, I mean, it's just incredible what they've done. But they had such a large machine behind them to begin with. So
Hmm.
that's it's a beautiful thing. I'm very proud of anybody that's come out of the industry and has done more than just wrestling. You know.
Wow. What was Mini Brim's original plan? I mean, what were you going to do when you grew up? Was wrestling always on the cards?
No, I wanted to be a rock star. And when I my first true love was drumming. And even though I did the acting when I was a kid and so forth, my first true love was drumming. I loved art and I wanted to be a famous comic book artist. Even though I'm not the artist, I did more of the writing and the creating and so forth, for the comics. But I wanted to be like famous artist. And what do you call it? And then my true love, like I said, was drumming. I got into elementary school and what do you call it? First you had to play the what do you call it? Not the flute, but the what do you call it? Forget what it's
Recorder, was it?
called.
No,
Yeah, the recorder. Thank you. Oh my God, nobody likes that.
they killed it.
Then and then I had to do the violin, and then what do you call? They gave me the opportunity to play to pick an instrument, and I was up to pick the drums, and it was all but to the memories. You know what I mean? Like I picked them up, and I just fell in love, and drums and percussion became my thing, and when I heard um where I grew up, I was one of the only white kids. I grew up in an all black area. I was all hip hop, all rap, reggae, stuff like that. And when I was going to go into middle school, my mother actually took me out and sent me which was culture shock to me, an all white Jewish school because I'm also Jewish. So she put me in an all white Jewish school and complete culture shock for me. And I was different. It was very different because I was into, rap and hip hop and so forth. And they were all rock and metal and, such. And then for me, it was different. And, at the very beginning, I mean, I got made fun of. And, then I had to beat someone's ass. And then all of a sudden everybody respected me. And because, I came from the hood, so you don't sleep on someone who comes from the hood. And, what do you call it after that? I mean, I started, bonding with some of the guys there, and I got into rock and metal as well. And, when I first saw, well, first I heard and then I saw, Tommy Lee from, Motley Crue, that was over. It was over for me. I said, I want to be that guy. I want to be a rock star. I want to be the flashy, you know what I mean, player who's out there and making heads turn. And that's what I want to do. And, I started and I did it. You know what I mean? I succeeded. I could have done more with it. I could have gone farther with it. But at that point, I was like, well, it's time to kind of switch, and that's when I went into wrestling. But I at least succeeded in what I wanted to do, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Not originally when you sort of stepping into music class and drumming and stuff. Who was the go-to at that time? I mean, that was probably pre Tommy Lee, wasn't it? It was, there'd be.
No, because I was born in '74, and Motley Crue came out in the '80s. You're talking about the
Okay.
early '80s.
Hmm.
So I was when I went to private school, I was going into middle school. So what? I was like, my daughter's going to middle school now. She's going to be 11. So I was either 11 or 12. You know what I mean? 13, something like that. No, no, 11 or 12. And what do you call it? Yeah, and that's when Motley Crue was out and getting bigger. So again, you're talking about, when I first started playing in a band, my first band was, I was like 12, 13 years old. So yeah, that, and we called it private school because we were in private school. So, and that's when I saw, Tommy Lee, guys like, what do you call it? Fred Curry from Cinderella, who I'm friends with now years later, Jimmy DeAnda from Bullet Boys, same thing. What do you call it? Rod Morgenstein, another good friend of mine from Winger and the Dixie Dregs, and these were all guys that I had on my wall. Like these are the guys that were in my area where I had all my drum kits. I had them all up on the wall. These were the guys I wanted to, to portray when I got behind the kit. And I did. These were also the guys that were not just quiet little mice behind the kit. They were out there, they were in front, even though they were in the back, they were in the forefront. They were the guys that you paid attention to. So it was, a very interesting, situation. But yeah, no, time wise, yeah, no, Motley Crue, they were out. I think at the time, it must have been Girls, Girls, Girls must have come out. I think that was right around the time. I don't know, something right around there. But when was that? Like 80 something? I don't know. It's a good question, right?
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
God
find
dear
out.
knows. It's that. What was it? Do you think about the drums? Is it a form of expression? Is it you're tying it all together? Is the background beat? What do you think it is? Is that actually the?
By the Girls, Girls, Girls came out May 15th, 1987, by the way. So
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah,
So there's 74 to 84 to 5 to 6 7 13. There you go.
yeah. Bang
So
on the money.
so yeah, so in terms of and Shout at the Devil was in 1983. So yeah, so that was still earlier than that. Anyway, back to that, what your question was. Yeah, no, I love that it was an outlet for me. I love that I was able to beat those things as hard as I needed to. If I was having a bad day, I was able to finesse them when I was having a good day, and then I was able to link the two together. You know what I mean? And I was able to just you're the backbeat of the music. People are like, oh, the guitars are amazing, or oh, the singer is so awesome. But you know what? The drums are the ones who lead the band. Without the drums in the background, and you know what I mean, to guide the song, you got nothing. Yeah, you can make beautiful music everywhere, but the drums are the backbone.
Is music in the family? Is it in-laws,
Yeah,
outlaws, parents?
yeah. My father, sang and still sings to this day, and he plays guitar. Not he was never taught. He was self-taught, and he was in music. He was in entertainment. He was going to. He could have done some things. He's a fantastic voice. Um, the problem is that, it's a hard business to be in. And even though he still sings to this day, he just, he didn't pursue it as a maiden career. But he supports everything I do, which is great. So, sometimes they question certain judgments, judgment calls that I have, and other times they go, all right, well, that's a good choice. That's good. That's a big deal. Right now I'm in the middle of filming a new series with my son, and what do you call it? I can't talk about what it is and what it's about and so forth because it's under NDA. But they were like, "Wow, all right, that's a great deal." They see what we do with Grindhouse Radio, and they're like, "You guys are doing phenomenal things." So and then certain products or something that I come out with, and they go, I didn't necessarily like the flavor of that one. It's like, well, it's not for you, but a few 100,000 other people loved it. So I think I'm okay. But it is what it is.
I mean, I suppose how are you able to reflect in that? I mean, can you see the stuff that's good for you, that's bad for you, that really sets your world on fire, that doesn't? I mean, is your intuition strong enough to do that, or you just say yes as much as you can and give it a whirl, see what happens?
Actually saying no is a healthy thing, and it's a good thing sometimes. And it's funny because I had that conversation years ago with my buddy Ron Thal, better known as Bumblefoot. He was with Guns N' Roses for a long time, one of the best guitarists in the world. And the two of us were talking, and we used to have marathon conversations when we had more time. And one of the things he said, he goes, I learned one of the most interesting things. He's like, because what he would do, the same as me, we'd say yes to everything. Yes, 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 yes. And then all of a sudden, what happens is you burned out because you're doing all this stuff, and not everything necessarily pans out to what it should be. And rather than doing something productive or something for yourself or something that with your family or whatever, you're doing all these things that are not necessarily anything that's gonna help you, help somebody else. That it's just a matter of you know, why am I here? Kind of a thing. Some of those occasions. So he was like, he's like, I'm gonna start saying no to things, and this was years ago. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good way to look at it. And I started saying no to things, not because I wanted to, but because I thought that it was the right thing. And like how many charities I already do, and then how many other charities want me to do stuff for them, and I can't possibly do everything. Otherwise, there's no time for me, and then I'm not making money, and I'm not doing something that's going to help put me forward and move me forward. So certain things like that, and half the time they don't even appreciate the fact that you're there anyway, which is even crazier. So what do you call it? I like to support the charities that care that I'm there and working hard for them. But that being said, in terms of what you're mentioning, you know in terms of like me saying no, I think that was a huge thing for me, and that allowed me to really pursue things that were more of interest to me, rather than things that I'm like, yeah, it could be all right, because I've had so many things that are thrown in front of me. And you also have to be able to figure out who the real ones are from who the fake ones are. I get every other day somebody asking me if I want to be to help produce this, or they'll put my name on that, or do, and bro, I don't have enough time in my day to sit in and help promote your project as well. Like great, a producer credit, what is that going to do for me? You know what I mean? Like, I appreciate it, but if your project goes nowhere, then I've just spent and wasted X amount of time on something that's not fully mine. I'd rather work on my own project, be the producer of my own project, and I'll take that as it comes. You know what I mean? Or you can make me a sweeter deal, and then perhaps I will jump on that producer wagon. You know what I mean? It really depends on the situation it is. So again, it's like depends on what you're dealing with. I have many different products that, oh, do you want to do this kind of, I've got this kind of a product, oh my god, one of them was like some kind of a slime thing that somebody had. I'm like, man, it's really not for me. Thank you so much. Oh no, but you could do no, no, it's just not for me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes you just have to say no, you know, and that helps you decipher what's right and what's wrong. So
And for that, I mean, that ability to say yes and say no, I mean, are you are you able to, I mean, do you need to reflect off others? Do you need mentorship, or is it, have you been able to actually work that out through yourself? Because imagine it's quite a unique career that you've woven. So there's not many are going to be able to mentor you, right? Or is that the case?
yeah, no, nobody's really mentored me with any of this. Like, you know, it really depends on where I am and what I'm doing at that time. You know, I've consulted with my wife often because obviously anything that I'm doing takes more time away from her and the family. So there are things that I'll consult with her, you know, about like, you know, for instance, I manage, you know, or advise a young singer songwriter. What do you call it? Arizona Lindsay, who's an incredible talent, and you know, I for that, she asked me if I would do it, and at first I said no. I said no. I said no, I can't. I'll help you with what I can, but I can't take on that responsibility. And then I'm like, all right, this kid needs guidance. She needs help, and if I don't do it, somebody else is going to jump in there and you know and either take advantage or do something that they shouldn't do. And you know, she's really really good. So I spoke to my wife. I said, "What do you think?" She's like, "If you think that it's worth it, if you think that it's going to be beneficial, not just to her but for yourself, and you believe in it, then I'm 100% for it." So I said yes, and you know, and you know, now I'm managing her for the last couple of years, and she's doing things. She's actually releasing a track with my buddy DMC from Run DMC. I set that up, and that'll be coming out, you know, in September for Suicide Awareness Month here in the States, and I guess around the world. So you know, for that, you know, it was something that I originally said no to, and then my wife said, you know what, you were moved by the music, you thought she was a really good performer, you should do it. And I'm like, okay, so I did it. Other times, you know, there are certain things I'll reach out to. I have you know, Tom and Kim from Grindhouse, where I'll say, you know, what do you guys think of this? What do you think of this event? Or what do you think of this project? And sometimes they'll be like, yeah, it sounds really good. And I'll be like, yeah, it does sound really good. Or maybe they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's a good thought, you know. And so yeah, I'll toss things around, you know, with the people that I work with and the people that I trust. Um, but you know, in terms of a mentor, I had, you know, one in pro wrestling, which is the original Gino Caruso, and what do you call it? He was my mentor through a lot, and you know, and yeah, I would touch base with a lot of different guys in the industry then. But aside from that, nobody really that jumps out, you know, and has said, "Oh, you should try this, or you should do that, or you should." There are people who've tried to tell me things like that, but most of these people haven't been in my shoes. If you haven't stepped in my shoes and you haven't walked in my shoes, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. All due respect. So, you know, for me, I've kind of lit my own way, you know.
Out of interest, I mean, how important do you think it is? Because I've noticed there's a bit of a theme goes on with yourself in terms of you having multiple, you know, owning or controlling multiple parts of the actual the food chain, if you like. So it's not just a
Mhm.
case of, you know, say the wrestling, it's also a case of owning the brand, being responsible for multiple parts. Do you think that's key in anything nowadays, whereby you either, you know, you're not just the one thing, you're also maybe a controller or a manager, or you own the rights of, or you hold the branding too? Is that key, do you think?
Yes, especially in, you know, you're talking about in entertainment and entrepreneurship. Think about all the people that are out there, and they've all played these amazing roles on television or these incredible roles in film. They don't own the IP. They don't own anything. All they are is, you know, they're great actors, great actresses. They're great, you know, performers, but they don't own it. They get nothing. They get nothing from it. You know, maybe a little bit of a percentage here and there. They'll get like residuals on stuff, but you're talking about cents, not even dollars. You're talking about cents. You know, perfect example. You know, in the pro wrestling world, there was a legend who passed away not too long ago. Who went on the stage named Kamala, and the guy was huge in his time. What do you call it? Over the years, he wound up losing his legs to diabetes. He, you know, he had issues upon issues, and he would get 30-cent checks sent to him, 30-cent royalty checks, which is a known thing. You can go online and look it up yourself. And it's like adding insult to injury for all the time that he put in, and he didn't own his name, so he couldn't even use the IP and do anything, with it. So and there are a lot of other people that are like that. There's think about how many people that are playing a character on television, and then the show goes off air, and that's it. You know what I mean? Think about shows that have gone on for a long time and it was successful. Here, the Cosby Show was a perfect example. It was a huge show, and people and the people that were within it made tremendous residual, for a while, until Cosby did what he did, and they cut that off, and now you can't find it anywhere. And what happens? Everybody's checks, and they can't do anything with. They're not getting residual. They can't use their the characters for anything. They can't use the Cosby Show name, not just because they don't own it, but it's also because it's tainted at that point. And what are they going to do? You know what I mean? So they can go sign at conventions, but do people want to go and support the Cosby Show? You follow me? So there are different reasons why people lose in this situation, and it's either because you're a character and it's usually because you're a character that you can't capitalize off of. The Comic Cons kind of level that playing field a little bit, simply because you can go as an actor and have out all your 8x10s of pictures of you, in the films, and people will buy them, and you can sit and sign them. But how many times is somebody going to buy the same 8x10 from? You know what I mean? How many times? Which is one of the reasons why I said, for me, when I go to the conventions, I don't want to just have my 8x10s out, because 8x10s are great, but I would also, how many times is somebody going to get an 8x10 from me? So how much cooler is it if they pay a little bit less and they buy one of my sauces, or one of my seasonings, or one of the comic books, or a kid's book, or my cologne, or coffee, or you know what I mean, or my sunglass, whatever it is, you know what I mean? I At least now they're buying into the brand. They have more things. They run out of the seasoning. Well, guess what? They loved it. They're going to come buy more. Maybe they're going to buy sauce and seasoning. That helps push me, helps push my brand, helps make the money that I need to make without you know charging for a piece of paper with my signature on it that's probably going to get stuck in a drawer somewhere. You know what I mean? It's actually being used. So that's part of my longevity. That's part of the reason why I've done multiple things, and that's why I absolutely believe that it's important to own your IP. It's very it's and if you like here, in terms of the Grindhouse Radio, like it's a shared IP. We all own the IP together. But we're all our individual brands within the IP. You know what I mean? So I'm still Brimstone within, but outside of this, the Grindhouse Radio, Tom Greer, Mr. Greer, in and out, Kim and Dragna, the same thing, and this is, so we're building the brand together as well as building our brands personally. So, it all kind of works together in tandem. Um, if you don't have a piece in the IP, you could build it up to whatever it is, and then you could be let go, and that's it, and bye. It's like working a 9 to 5. You work a 9 to 5 for 30 years, and then one day they decide, well, you know what, we don't need you anymore. See ya. And you're done. You don't have anything to show for it. You're gone. That's it. End of story. And so you can think of it that way. You know what I mean? Like you're losing your job, you lose, everything that came along with it. So not owning your IP, not owning your trademarks, that's the issue you put yourself into.
Yeah, it's super interesting, isn't it? That single point of failure, but it could actually be worse than a single point of failure if the brand comes tainted, right? And it loses
Yeah.
it. And not only you almost denying that is like, yeah, no, I didn't work on that show for X or did Y or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
it's super, super interesting, knowing
Well,
how it's
yeah.
gonna serve.
You got like the one who played the character Elton. Elton, I think was the name, which was the older daughter's husband. He was bagging groceries because he hadn't have any work. He had no work coming in, and what do you call it? His and the Cosby Show was not bringing in anything financially anymore because it got bagged, and you can't find it anywhere. So he didn't get any residuals, and he wasn't high enough in the totem pole in Hollywood to be making that kind of money. So what do you call it? He's like, well, I got to bag groceries. I got to bag groceries. So, and then what helped him was the fact that fans saw him and they started taking pictures, and it became a big to do. Like, how the hell is one of the guys from one of the biggest shows in history sitting and bagging groceries? Well, this is why. And they helped him, and he's back in the business again and whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen. And you should always have your hands in a bunch of different cookie jars. It's always been my thing. I have my hand in a bunch of different cookie jars. And if something stops working or doesn't work, or is stagnant, well, I still am doing three or four other things. So thankfully that helps me weather bad times.
Yeah, makes sense. It's a wide base, right? So it's gives you
Yep.
plenty of leverage, gives you things. So tell me, what's your sort of daily habits? Do you have daily habits or daily sort of rituals as such?
What do you call it? Yeah. When I wake up, I get up. I enjoy when we have the opportunity, which for recently we've made the time and made the opportunity. But I'll get up, we'll have my morning coffee with my wife, and we try to spend a little bit of quality time together because, again, happy wife, happy life. And to be honest, I'm a family guy, so I like spending time with my wife. And when I get up, I get ready. I come to the studio on most occasions. Like I said, recently I've been taking a little bit of a breather, but like on most days, I'll come in, I'll get here bright and early, and what do you call it? We have our little clerk sign on the outside of our studio that just says we're closed. And I always, it's like I have to turn it to it's open. It's one of my rituals. Like, we're gonna have a good day. Boom, it's open, and now we're ready to go. That's one of my things. And then I'll come and I'll have my second cup of coffee. I sit behind here and I go through, all my emails that I didn't get to the night before or throughout the night when I wake up, and feel the need to go and check everything. I go through, I'll usually do between 2 or 3 interviews a day, depending on the day. And I prepare for that. I set up and do that. And that's just like that's my regular, get up and go. Obviously not including my showers and all that. If you want to know all the brushing the teeth stuff, and I'll tell you that too. But so that's my daily morning routine. And then throughout the day, obviously I'm doing 50 different things, wearing 100 different hats. But then at night, when people are done and they're winding down, I'm still online, either doing social media or sending out, reaching out to different people, touching base with people for different projects, dealing with people for different projects, setting up other appearances. You know what I mean? Doing you name it, and I do it. I mean, that's pretty much it. No, and sometimes I won't get to bed until 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. At times later, sometimes I get lucky and I get to sleep early. Last night I got to sleep at about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So it was a good night for me. You know what I mean? It was a good night.
That's some serious committed hours there. I love that. I mean, but it's obviously something you enjoy. It's something you're passionate about, right? It's sort of built
Yeah.
into you.
Yeah, yeah. It is what it is. It's work ethic. But again, like, and like I said, I'll always be honest. The last couple months, over the summer, especially, I don't want to say coming out of pandemic because we're still in pandemic, but I had to take a breather because I have so many projects going on, and we had so many things going on. What do you call it? We saw the departure of one of our longtime partners here in at Grindhouse, which caused the three of us, we had to take on extra, burden and make sure that things were running smoothly, which we did really quickly. But it was stress, and at the end of the day, we had to make sure that our well-oiled machine was still continuing to be a well-oiled machine. And what do you call it? Like for me, I just needed to take a little bit of downtime. So I'm working every day. I'm still doing the interviews every day. I'm doing everything I need to do, but I'm just not coming in every single day. I'm doing stuff from home, or I'll sit outside in the yard and I'll do some interviews out there, or I'll do, my emails outside with a cup of coffee with my wife. You know what I mean? And my dog running around, and I'm just taking some time. Once school year starts again, I'll be back in here regular every single day when I'm not touring. When I'm touring, obviously I can't be here, but I'm very hands on. I'm very, very hands on. So.
Mm. Oh, it's a beautiful way to be. It's tell me this: when's a great time to get you into a room, and when's a great time to get you out of a room? Where's your creative bits, and what are you great at and what are you terrible at?
I have a lot of things that the things that I'm good at, I'm really good at. The things that I'm bad at, I'm really bad at. Like IT, I can't do IT. We were here the other night working on something IT, and it was hilarious because what do you call Greer's actually sitting next to me. They were laughing at me because I know nothing about IT. What do you call it? So we were trying to figure this stuff out, and you know, it's like that's not me. I can't do it. But like I excel at the sales and marketing and advertising and writing and being the face of a company and being face of brands. That I excel at stuff like that. I excel at promotion for different brands and making sure that that their name is put out and with the best foot forward. I mean, for God's sake, I mean, we represented. Wendy's had wanted me to represent them over at the IMDb boat, the yacht for San Diego Comic Con because we were signing. Grindhouse was signing over at San Diego, so they wanted me to do the yacht after hours, and we all went to the yacht and represented Wendy's, and um, because they knew that I was going to represent properly and GHR was going to represent properly, and that being said, then IMDb got to know us and they fell in love and was like, you guys got to be hanging with us every night this week. And we wound up being on the yacht every single night and hanging out with them and repping the IMDb brand, so like it's that's the stuff I do well. You know what I mean? I'm a mover, I'm a shaker. What do you call it? But put me in front of some serious tech stuff and I have no idea what's going on. So but everything else, negotiations, that's me. I'm really good at negotiations. Um, that's it. So but every so often, you get creative block. It happens to the best of us. But then I just try to find inspiration somewhere else. You know what I mean? And then I'll work on a different project for a little while, and then come back to it if I'm getting, a little stale. You know,
Yeah. I mean, pleasure and leisure, what does that look like for you?
what was that?
Pleasure and leisure. I mean, that sort of downtime. What do we see you recharging?
Um, I actually did a nice family vacation recently for the summer. We went away a few weeks ago. We went and did the Florida thing with Disney and Universal and everything. And now, what's funny is that I usually do a lot of work with a lot of these companies, and I'll do social media when I'm there, or I'll do whatever it is that I need to do to earn my keep, so to speak, because I'm doing Brimstone stuff while I'm away. But this time I just did as bare minimum as possible, and a lot of the companies weren't doing things, at this point because of pandemic and shutdowns and like you name it. So I was kind of like, you know what? I don't even care. I just want to go relax and not have to work at all, not have to do anything. That was leisure for me, not doing a damn thing, being, not being, yeah, I'm Brimstone. I'll always be Brimstone. I'll always get stopped. I'll always have people recognizing at some point in time or looking at me like I know you from somewhere. But at the end of the day, that's my life and I'm okay with that. But what do you call it? Not having to like work, that was beautiful. And what's really funny is I still worked because I had one day, it was the Wednesday, and rather than doing the theme parks, I was in the what do you call it? I was in the resort, and I did about 4 interviews and 2 of my shows uh, remote from Disney. So I was still working. And everybody laughed at me. They're like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to be on vacation." I was like, "Yeah, I know, but my work ethic, I couldn't not do anything."
I mean, it's a beautiful life of entrepreneurship, right? There's sometimes a bit of a gray line, but also the
Yeah,
flip side is you get the great privileges to go with too. So,
that's true. Very
but
true.
bit of both. What's a bit of a guilty pleasure for you, Grim?
Um, I don't know, man. I like to eat. That's a problem. So what do you call it? I indulge. I'm a big barbecue guy. What do you call it? I work with a bunch of companies within the foodie industry. Yoder Smokers endorses me, which they're the most phenomenal grill smokers that you can get your hands on. What do you call it? And a ton of different companies, Spaceman Knives, Ergo Knives, uh, 2 Acre Woodworks, like all these different companies, Jack's Fire Pellets. Like these are all companies that all endorse me and all, work with me because I am in the foodie space as well. So, that's a guilty pleasure. I love to cook. I love to eat. I love to spend time with my son doing that. And, we just last night, we actually put in a brisket, at about 10 o'clock. I should say he put in the brisket. I was lazy. But I made burgers before that. Actually, I set them up and he put them in. So I'm gonna say that he did most of the work last night and I just kind of relaxed. But um I normally will do most of the cooking also, and or a good portion of the cooking is on my own. And I enjoy that. That's a guilty pleasure.
Put you in front of the Barbie and you're in your element, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I utilize all my sauces and seasonings when I do it. So it's like it's a always a fun time.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So tell me, if you were to try and summarize your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, what would it look, what would they be?
If I was to if I
So,
was to
summarize your fire in the belly in 1 or 2 words, what would they be?
determination and legacy.
Uh, Legacy is a big one for you, right? It's really,
Yep.
really
Huge.
important.
Huge.
Why?
Death is the one thing that I fear. And what do you call, I don't fear many things. Like I said, the one thing that I do fear though is death, and leaving a legacy is very important to me. I want people to remember me for years to come after I'm gone. And I want my family to be able to remember me for years to come once I'm gone. So, and I think I've left a big enough collection of me behind, you know what I mean, at this point. So everything else, let's continue to run this train until the wheels fall off.
No, it's awesome. Why not? Good exposure. And as you say, it's not a case of remembering you. It's like, will he ever die? It's like there's remnants of him everywhere, right?
Hope not. I just had my 47th birthday on Sunday, August
Oh, happy
22nd.
birthday.
So thank you. Yeah. So
Many, many
I'm
more to come.
I hope. I hope.
I love it. I love it. So tell us, where can people reach out to you, follow you, track you, stalk you, any of the above?
Definitely hit me up. My official website is therealbrimstone.com. What do you call it? I'm also very, very, very heavy on my Instagram at the real brimstone. It is verified. You'll know it's me. It's me who responds to you there, not my wife, not my intern, not my assistant. It's always me. What do you call it? If you write on my posts, I'm gonna write back to you. I respond to everybody as long as you're respectful. You have questions, you haven't, like any of that, feel free to hit me up there. But write on the posts. You know what I'm saying? Engage. I like to be engaged. And that's the two, biggest spots to get me. You can find out pretty much everything about me on my official site. There are a couple things that still need to be added here and there, but like you could find everything. You can also catch me on a bunch of the shows that I do. You've got my flagship brand, the Grindhouse Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we launch every single week. You can get us on iHeart or, over 30 different networks worldwide. You can go to thegrindhouseradio.com. If there's a celebrity that you love, you can look it up on the guest list and just start from there if you want to, get started somehow, but not sure to where to get started. And you can always go there. It's a lot of fun. You could also tune in live on Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to thegrindhouseradio.com or our Facebook page, The Grindhouse Radio. And you'll catch myself and Mr. Greer from Grindhouse doing Truly Inconsequential, which is a lot of fun. We sit and debate two pop culture characters weekly. And what do you call it? You can also get it on YouTube and Twitch. So definitely check that out. And you can see all the old episodes there. It's a hell of a lot of fun. More people that sit and look and like and respond, the more it hits the algorithms and will definitely help us out. So we always appreciate that. Please subscribe, very, very important. And I know Mr. Greer always says that on every episode. Subscribe, 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 mash the like button, please do that for us. I also do a show called The Dirty Little Secrets Club with Dana Pereira of That Trophy Wife Life. That comes out on Tuesdays, as well as my Within Brim Skin. That comes out on Tuesdays as well. So that's a brim-filled day. And everything can be found on, like I said, my website and thegrindhouseradio.com. So hopefully you guys will check it out. And I've got some other projects coming real soon that I can talk about. What do you call it? That you guys will blow your mind. So stay tuned, hang out, and hope to see you soon.
Wow, that's some serious workload and exposure you're getting. I love that. It's absolutely awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there a final message you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yes, no matter where you are in the world, no matter where you are, please be good to one another. In the state of the world right now, where we're in, where there's just so much hate, so much, distaste for one another. Be good to each other. Try to do something good in the world. There's so many people that are out there that, especially in these times, are in need. They need help. Be that person who will take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour to donate, not money, donate some time to a charity that you believe in. And not only are you going to be helping somebody else out and making them feel good about, you being there and helping them to sometimes even survive. But you're going to feel good about yourself because you're doing something good for someone else. So I encourage people to just do the right thing, pay it forward, and just be good to one another.
Wow. Wow. Brim, the real Brimstone, thank you so much. It's been awesome to have you on. I appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you being here and your energy and your vitality. So thank you. And listen, may there be many, many opportunities ahead of you. So thank you.
Honor and a privilege, brother. The mighty Pete. Brim appreciates you, brother. Thank you so much. And always keep that fire in your belly, bro.
Awesome. Thank you.